Hey everybody, it's Natalie here at the Gale Borden Public Library, and today you are tuning in for GBTV. I am joined by Katie. Katie, you want to say hi?
Hi.
And today we have something really special for you. So one of the things that we know everybody loves to know is the top books of the year. And Katie is our early literacy librarian, and she is going to discuss some of the top picture books of 2022. So Katie, I don't know if you want to give a little more of an introduction or if you want to jump right into it, but
yeah, absolutely. These are some of my favorites. They're best for ages 3 to 6. A couple of them can stretch to the older kids, so please keep that in mind, and I'll kind of go along with it and tell you about the ages.
Yeah.
So this is probably my favorite of the year. This is called Berry Song. And this is written and illustrated by Michaela Goad, and she won the Caldecott in 2021 for We Are Water Protectors. So she's back now in this beautiful watercolor illustration style.
Very pretty.
And yeah, what it is, it's a story of a girl and her grandmother going berry picking. So it's on the native land in Alaska, and she and her grandmother go berry picking on the land, and it's really about like the wisdom of the land and our ancestors and our connection to nature, and it's got these like very lush, warm illustrations.
That's gorgeous.
Just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, this is one of my favorites, with like the diagonal lines swishing and all of the beautiful colors blending together. And then she says, as the land is part of us, we are part of the land. So yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. A lot of editors. Oh, and then what I love about it is at the end, she talks about her own, how this is based on her own experience and all the different berries in her native state of Alaska. And then there's her with her little one.
That's so cute.
So if you love berry picking and if you love nature, this is just a great one, Berry Song.
Plus, you know, you can't go wrong with a Caldecott medalist.
Exactly. And you know what? I don't know. This would be my Caldecott prediction. If I could predict, I think she could definitely win the medal again. And the Caldecott is the best illustrated book published in the United States every year. So
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's announced in January. This is called Night Lunch.
I love it.
Yes, it is new. I just saw it for the first time. It is new in November 2022. So we just got it in here at the library. And this is different. It's a limited color palette. So it's very, very dark, as you can see in its color palette. But it's beautiful. It's all centered on animals and this truck, this lunch cart that comes in. It rolls on in. And then all these animals, of course, have lunch at night. And they're sharing together, and all of a sudden the mouse is all alone, and everyone has their own things to eat. You know, a mince pie for Fox and a sandwich for Badger, but the mouse doesn't have anything. And so what do you think happens?
I love how detailed the pictures are without being like super vibrant too.
Yes.
So it's a different style of art for a picture
got that,
book.
like detailed cross hatching. Yeah, so here's little mouse who doesn't have food, and then the owl, you can see like the perspective change, and then the owl shares. So it's a beautiful story of like animals and friendship, and you're right, it has those like, even though it's limited colors, it's very lush and warm and friendly.
And sharing, so a good message for the little ones.
Exactly, especially for the holidays.
Exactly.
Right? Sharing food is great. Okay, so this is a great one for Father's Day. Sharing love with your child. So if you're a father, this is definitely one for you, or for a gift for the dad in your life. This is all about daddies and daddy love. So it's got a whole bunch of different depictions of fathers and their children. So from the time that you're a little baby, and the illustrations combined with the text are just absolutely beautiful. And it's all in the theme of Daddy Speaks Love. So Daddy speaks love, Daddy speaks of tea parties and painted nails and doing whatever we like. And again, these beautiful watercolors are just perfect.
That is pretty. And you bring up a really good point too. So not only are these, some of the highlights of the year, but the holidays are around the corner, and you can turn any of these suggestions into possible book, gifts for your child, for your grandchild, for, husband, father, whatever it might be. So that's a
Yes.
great point.
Absolutely. And the ones with these beautiful lush illustrations are great gifts.
I know my husband loves reading to our daughter every night, so book suggestions are always, bring them on.
Totally, absolutely. Yeah, so this one is just absolutely lovely. It ends in this beautiful picture of all these different dads
Very
all
nice.
around the world. So it's a great one. This one is totally different. It's actually nonfiction, so it's a true story. It's called Pip and Zip. And as you can see, there are two ducklings. What happens, it's actually based on a true story. And during COVID-19, a family was walking along, and all of a sudden they look and they find this egg. Back in 2020, we just walked around outside. And so they took the egg because they noticed that it had, that it was abandoned. And under normal circumstances, they would have brought it to the wildlife center, but they called the wildlife center and they said, only in emergencies can we take any animals right now. And so they're like, well, what if we take it home? They luckily had someone next door who had an incubator, and they helped this, 2 eggs actually, come to life, and they hatched into Pip and Zip. And the reason that they call them Pip and Zip is because when a duckling is inside an egg and starts to just crack, that's called a pip. And then a couple of days can go by before it's fully cracked, and that crack is a zip.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're called Pip and Zip, and they took care of them until they hatched, and then once everything was safe, they released them into the river.
That's cute.
So under normal circumstances, like at the end it says, please don't, here's
Don't
some
do this
safe
regularly.
places. Yes, a note from the author says, like, this was real life, but it was because of COVID. And what should you do if you find a duck egg? So it's a great story. It's something that I love the actual story, and the illustrations are beautiful.
Yeah.
And it ends really, really well. But it's also like, don't do this, but here's a great story. When you see one, please bring it to the wildlife center. But it's a great story.
That makes sense.
This one is a great one for, it's a soft, sweet story. It's called The Boy with the Flowers in His Hair. I would give this to anyone who had a hard time, in their life, because we all do, right? So it's about this boy who has flowers in his hair, and he's sweet and he's gentle, just like his petals. But what one of the students in the class notices is that his petals start to come off, and he doesn't want to play anymore. And so you know that just something isn't quite right. He's quiet. He was never really quiet before, and his petals start to fall off. So you're wondering, what's going on? Well, he has an idea, his friend, and with a paintbrush and scissors, he finds a way to make new petals, and he gets his flowers back. So it's kind of like that help of a friend that gives his flowers back. And he doesn't look quite the same, but he comes back, he starts talking a little bit again, but then at the end, what's wonderful is he starts to bloom again, and his flowers come back, the real flowers from the very beginning.
Cute.
So it's kind of like how a friend can help another friend. You don't ever really know what's wrong in this boy's life, but all of us can have something that, go wrong, and a friend can help us.
Yeah.
Through. So that's really, really a gorgeous one. The Boy with the Flowers. Okay, totally different. This is totally
Switching it up.
This is called Endlessly Ever After, and if you like fairy tales, this one is definitely for you. Did you ever read the Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Always.
Right? You can go through.
Fan favorite.
Totally. That's what this is, except it's fairy tales.
And
so,
just from the cover, it looks
right?
phenomenal. Just the image on the cover.
Yes, Little Red Riding Hood, and it's combined with Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Three Little Pigs, so many fairy tales, Hansel and Gretel. And it starts off where literally you get to decide what section you're going to go to next. So Little Red Riding Hood goes on her adventure, and she finds the wolf. Oh no, is she going to let that wolf scare you away from an adventure? Yes, wolves are no joke. To go back inside and start fresh, go back to page 2. Or you can take a deep breath and journey on and go to page 50. So should we try it? Go to page 50. Well, what happens then? Well, you will not let that mean old wolf destroy your lovely day. That furry bully has no right to bother you in this way. So then you get to decide which way you're going to go and look at. I'm going to choose to go back to page 8. So as you can see, as you go along, and then they meet, who's that? Snow White. As you go along and choose your different stories, you finally get to the end. But what's great about this is every day you get to choose a new one.
I was just going to say, that's like the perfect nighttime story because it evolves. You know, each night can be a totally different story, but have some of the same elements. That's cute.
So you can just keep, there's like 1,000 stories within this story. You can just keep going and going and going. And the illustrations are super great. Dan Santat writes, and he illustrates a lot of great ones that we have in our collection. So
Perfect.
This is one of David's.
You know what? It actually made me think, just in case anyone is just tuning in, if you have missed some of these or you're just, writing them down or trying to scramble to write them down, we are including our link to our catalog in the comments section. So make sure you go to the comments section, check these out, place holds on them. You can do all of that. So don't worry if you miss one or two of them, because we'll be able to provide a link for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder.
No problem. I got so into it, I forgot to mention that. So.
Oh, yeah. And this one, I will say, the one I just talked about, the Choose Your Own Adventure fairy tale, is for a little bit older kids. It just has a couple of wolf illustrations that are a little scary. So I would say even kindergarten up through 3rd grade would really enjoy this one. But if you have a little one, even a 2, 3, 4-year-old might like this one. This is A Seed Grows. And I wanted to include this because it's nonfiction, but it's really simple, and the illustrations are just gorgeous, and it has a little bit of poetry sprinkled in. A seed falls, it settles on the soil, and the sun shines. And these beautiful, bright, simple illustrations are just perfect for that little one just starting to understand like the plant cycle of how a seed grows and sprouts, and what it needs, right? It needs dirt, and it needs sun, and it needs water. And then it goes into this beautiful illustration right here where it forms into a bud.
Oh, cute.
And it turns into a flower.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's just a great one, especially for spring. If you really are looking, we're getting into the winter months now. So maybe you want a book that like gives you some hope towards spring. This is a really good one.
Perfect.
So that's A Seed Grows. This is a new one published by Mac Barnett. And if you know him, he writes a lot of silly books. He also wrote the next one. So you can see two different books by authors, and they're the same author, and they're very different. So this one is about a dancer named John. And John is kind of bullied for being a dancer. But boys can dance, right? It's not just girls that dance, boys dance. We all can dance. And so all these kids are at a talent show, and they have their different talents, and John really, really wants to dance, but he gets made fun of. So at the end, he gets his confidence, he builds his confidence, and decides to dance. And I love these illustrations because you see from the very beginning, he's a little nervous, but then he leaps across the page. He's doing ballet. And look at that beautiful arc right there. So it's just a great one. Look at that. It's so cool, isn't it? All the different positions. So any dancer in your life, this is a great one. And he gains his confidence, and he turns it around and smiles and gains confidence in himself. So that is John's turn. and Matt Barnett again. And then what's so great is then you can see the opposite. So an author can write in all different kinds of styles, because this is a really silly book. You probably know The Three Billy Goats Gruff, which is a fairy tale. Well, it's kind of like a folk tale, actually. And it is about, it's a spin on the troll, but the troll looks kind of silly. So like underneath the bridge lived a troll, but it looks kind of like a silly troll.
A little abstract.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So this troll, of course, would sit and say, I want to eat, I'm hungry. He was starving. And a goat comes along and says, does anyone, you know this story, right?
I haven't read it in forever, but
okay.
I know I've read it. But.
Yes. Well, the goat says, don't eat me. I have an older brother who is bigger than me. And so he tricks the troll into waiting for his older brother, and there is the older brother. So, what do you think is going to happen? He says, nope, there's an older brother even bigger than me, and he tricks him. And then look, the older brother is gigantic, is way bigger than that tiny little troll. So it's a super silly story, and then at the end, well, what happens but the goat eats the troll.
Oh.
Right? Well,
tables have turned.
Yes, the tables have turned, exactly. Goes off the bridge, he doesn't eat him. So it ends differently, and then all of the brothers are together at the end. So there's the gigantic brother and the two brothers. So it's kind of like a fractured fairy tale, a twist.
Yep.
And then at the end it says, all you have to do is cross the bridge if you want to be part of the tale.
All right.
So these two, Matt Barnett and John Clausen, they've done many, many books together. If you know That Is Not My Hat and that series, they work together. They're really good friends. And actually, they read this book out loud on YouTube together, and they're hilarious.
Okay, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah. Okay, and last but not least, this is Lulia and the Language of Tea. And I love this one. This is a great one to read out loud, like if you're going to your child's classroom or if you're a teacher. It's about this little girl named Lulia, and she is all by herself in this kind of quiet area. She doesn't know anyone, she doesn't know anyone's language, and so she often plays alone. But what she does one day is she brings her own teapot. So from inside her backpack, she gets out her thermos, her teapot, her whole set of tea. She makes tea. And what do you think that happens? She says tea in her own language, Chinese. And all around the room, heads pop up, and they say tea in their own language, in Russian, in Hindi, in Turkish, in Arabic. And so all of the kids know the universal name for tea in their own language. And so they unite and all come together and drink tea together.
That's cute.
They pass the tea along, and then at the end, they say, Cookie. They all know the name for Cookie. And the end, it says, Lily's teapot was empty, but her heart was full. So it's kind of that like universal language of the food and the warmth and the things that unite all of us, even though we might speak different languages.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the last one. And I could not even tell, there's so many other ones. So please ask us at Kids Space or at the branches if you have, because different librarians are going to say their favorites.
Of course.
So these are just 10 of my favorites.
Of course.
So you can always ask us.
Well, thank you so much for going over those. I know there's a couple I've mentally bookmarked, and I'll be placing holds on them, but that was really nice to hear and see some of the pictures of them too. I know that's one thing you don't necessarily get when you're browsing our catalog is the artwork, or how many words are on each page. So
Absolutely.
It's nice to see that.
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. Well, there is one more thing that we wanted to mention, and that is a little bit of some of our winter break programs coming up. So you've got the books to read, and now here are some of the programs to go to. So of course we have the Pirate Island exhibit going on at the library through January 15th. That's at the main library, 270 North Grove here in downtown Elgin. Explore a pirate ship. You can play an interactive game. You can, learn all different elements of Steam and Pirate Legends, and just tons of fun. And I know my daughter enjoys climbing on that ship, so I'm sure lots of kids all ages will enjoy it. So that's one thing not to miss. Winter break's coming up, so it's the perfect time. Hopefully you'll have a couple days off with the kids and you can go explore.
Absolutely. I've climbed up on the ship, so
It's
fun.
hard not to. It's
Yes.
hard not to. The other couple of things we've got, we are going to share a link in the comment section with all of these programs, so you can go to the website, register. There's only a couple that require registration, but register if it needs be. But there's a snow day of play with an indoor snowball fight. We're going to have block building. One of the things I know I'm looking forward to is January 5th. Yep, January 5th, we are going to have Mr. Freeze from Fermilab. And he's going to be here at the main library. There's 2 different sessions of that. One's at 4 o'clock and one is at 6 o'clock.
So fun.
I know, he's so interactive, and it's just it's crazy how fun it is to watch. I know one of my favorite things is to watch the kids' faces when they're watching the projects going on. So that's one that you will make sure you want to check out. But like we said, there's snow activities, crafts, and lots more. So you got the books, you got the programs. There's lots of things to do over the next couple weeks here. And as it gets colder, it's kind of the perfect place to be. So
Yeah, get warm.
Exactly. Well, thank you again for joining us, for sharing your books, and thank you online for tuning in. We hope that we'll see you again in a couple weeks, and we hope that everybody has a really, really great holiday.
Yeah, happy holidays.